my god. My stream is lagging a little bit. But it's okay. We're gonna we're gonna fight through. Hello everyone! Hello! Yeah, I'm lagging. I'm lagging a little bit. How is everyone? Hello, Yoshi. Hello, Chaos. Hello, Mom. Hello, Step Bro. Toshi-san. Toshi, Oni-chan. Hello, everyone. Look at her streaming like no school tomorrow. You know, funny thing. Oh my god, guys. Today was like my first official day at school. I woke up at like... Okay, technically I didn't even wake up. I was so anxious about going to school that like... I didn't even sleep. I stayed up all night because I was so anxious about the first day of school. And then... Yeah, I just went to school with no sleep. And then... Yep, and I spent like the entire day with no sleep. And then I met actual people. Yeah, I met actual people. Okay, guys. I left my house at like 8 o'clock, like 8 o'clock. My class starts at 9. And I was like, I left early, so I was like, you know, I'm gonna grab some coffee when I get to school, you know? But guys, I was in traffic for like almost an hour. Oh my god. Yeah. I was in traffic for like almost an hour. It's so bad. So like I parked my car super far because, you know, parking is so hard to find at school. And I had to like walk across campus just to go to my class. Like I got on campus at like 9 o'clock. It took me like 15 minutes just to walk across my campus. Oh my god. It was so... Oh my god. I was like speed running, but guys, my legs are so short. They were like moving so fast, but I was moving so slow, even though I was like, you know, speed walking, you know, as fast as I could. And you know what? On the way there, this girl decided to like stop me in the middle of my running. And she was like asking help for like directions, and I was like, ma'am, really, there's like 50 other people walking past me, and you decided to talk to me, the girl who's literally running for her life. Oh my god. Yeah, but it's okay though. It was good. I showed up to class like 15 minutes. Well, not 15. It was like 16, 17 minutes late. But it was okay. Did you help her? Yeah, I did. I did help her. Yeah. She was really nice though. She was really nice. Yeah, okay, also when I show up to class, my professor was like, oh, you're fine. You're not late. Yada yada. You know, it's the first day of class. And she wasn't gonna take attendance. And now I was like thinking in my head, I was like, damn, I should have just missed class today. What was the point of me showing up if you weren't even gonna take attendance? Oh my god. Yeah. It's okay though. The reason we go to school is attendance. Yeah, exactly, right? Oh my god. But then like my class ended, you know, I ate lunch and I had a meeting with another professor to get like, you know, to be a independent study student. So now I actually got in. I became an independent student, guys. So now I don't have to show up to that professor's class, and I could work on one animation semester long by myself. amazing. No more attendance, no more showing up to class. Now, guys, I can only show up to class like twice a week. Oh my god. It feels so good. It feels so good not going to school. Yeah. Sounds like a main character era. You know, I am the main character, alright? I am the main character. How lucky, I know, right? I'm so lucky, guys. I got the Shen look, you know, the Shen look. Yup. Hey, guys wanna know something even more funnier? Like, at another class that started at 1, like 1 till 4, okay? And I went there, I sat on my usual, you know, my usual desk table in the computer room. And then this guy comes in, sat next to me, and then he was like, "Oh my god, I know you! We had the same summer class together." And then I was like, "Summer class? I didn't take a summer class." And then it was so awkward for like 20 minutes. And then I was like trying to remember, summer class? I did take a summer class. I'm freaking dumb. And then I told her, I was like, "Oh my god, I did take a summer class. You were in it too. We were in the same class together." Oh my god. It was so embarrassing, guys. So embarrassing. And like throughout the whole class, he was asking me like what the professor said. And he's like, what did the professor say? And I was like, I don't know. I wasn't even paying attention. Guys, I was so tired. I didn't sleep. You know, I was like running around like a maniac. Okay. I was surviving on water and mac and cheese. Okay, it's yeah. Yeah. Your luck never stops. It never stops. I have level 99 luck, guys. Does that mean you can be a DJ streamer still? Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, you guys, I'm pretty sure a lot of my classmates knows I'm a streamer. Or like, you know, yeah. Can we have like this Discord server together? And I know it's my like the same Discord, you know. Yeah. So it's like I have no shame. You know, I think of it as like, you know, an ego boost. You know, like haha, I'm a VTuber. But don't watch my VODs or clips. Yeah. Oh my god, doppelganger? Yeah, doppelganger. Sounds like a webtoon story. You know, my life is a novel. She made it awkward that made it even more awkward. Yeah, I don't know why. It's just I'm an awkward person, guys. Graduate Yoshi, yeah, his place and go to school. You want me to go all the way to Texas? That's so far. But better get some proper sleep. You know, when I got home, I took like a I don't even know what you call it a nap. Like I took like a 3-hour nap. Yeah, but like every hour I kept waking up, you know, because I didn't want to oversleep. Because okay, for sure today I wanted to like stream, you know, and I was like, I don't want to like oversleep and like not stream. Yeah. Who watches their own VODs anyway? You don't? I watch my own VODs, not as like a you know. I think I'm really funny. Is that? Yeah, just a her private jet. You are an awkward person? Yeah, I'm an awkward person. I have the like the awkward rids. Also, guys, you know, like, okay, in the same class, right? The guy who sat in front of me, like not in front of me, like across from me, I just sat for class with him, and I think he needs to like, he was like trying to hit on me last time we were in the same class together. So it's a little awkward. Yeah, I'm like hoping he doesn't know I'm like sitting in front of him. But because I low-key don't want to talk to him. Yeah. Funny shit, I'll drive to you, make sure you make your breakfast since you don't want to go to Texas. You know, I don't really eat breakfast. Okay, I don't got time for that. Yeah. Only watch it if I remember something funny in my stream. You know, me too. Yeah, I make clips, post it on TikTok, YouTube. Don't I watch your VODs if I miss your stream? Oh my god, guys! He misses me? Can you also fly here in Australia? Ooh, no, Australia is actually one of the places I really want to go. Yeah, I feel like it'll feel like home. I don't know why. I don't know. I always want to go Australia. Like go visit like the savannas. You know, I want to see like cheetahs and like lions and like kangaroos. I'm scared of Australia, but yes, for you. Oh my god, hey yo. I'll make your coffee. Oh my god. I swear no big spiders. I love spiders. Tarantulas, they're so cute. Same, like you don't feel eating breakfast, just go. Yeah, I literally don't have time, guys. I'm such a lazy person that like I do my hair the night before, and so that when I wake up, I can just leave the house. Grab a coat, put on some pants, leave the house. Yeah. Well, it's not like I'm missing shit, but what? But what took you so long to stream again? Like I said, it's not like I miss you. Bug. Okay, I like, guys, I only stream like once or twice a week. Okay. I do want to stream more, you know. But we'll see. I kind of want to do morning streams. I know I say that a whole lot, but I do want to do morning streams. We'll see. I don't know. I want to stream more since like I have less school time now. Huh, I'll think about it. I mean, look, I'm streaming on Tuesdays. No, again. Haha. Haha. Of course, your stepbro will miss you, Shannon. Wink, wink. Hey, yo. I shower at night too? Yeah, I'm a night shower. Yeah, night showers, like it's so good. Like you go to bed, it's so nice and cozy and clean. You know, like I don't get people who showers in the morning. Like, are you not paranoid that you might shower for too long? You know, that's my kind of thought process. Next Tuesday doesn't stream. You know, we'll see. Next Tuesday. If I do stream next Tuesday, I don't know what I will stream though. Probably. I don't know. I don't know. I gotta figure what game I want to stream next. We'll see. I shower at night because I want to sleep in. Ooh, good one. Sash. No, because I can get the shower done in 45 minutes. That's so short. You guys are women, that's why. Men, come on. Man, I swear to God, you guys don't have like a whole hair routine, a whole like, you know, a face wash routine, you know. Come on, I have to blow dry my hair if I take a shower in the morning. I can't leave the house with my hair wet. Like men, come on. Imagine having hair. You don't have hair? Are you clean shaved? Are you smooth? Toshi? Oh my god. Oh my god. Mr. Clean here. I like. What do you do in the shower? Step bro, hey yo! No, but like 10 to 15 minutes is like reasonable. Like personally, my showers are like 20 minutes or more. You know, like average 20 minutes. Yeah. Drive with the windows down and go 60? No, that's so dangerous. Buns? I'm not bored. That would dry out your hair. Yeah, but like you have to, you know, it's gonna get freezy though. You know, if I like blow dry it, it's gonna poof, and I have to put like products in it and like straighten it, you know. I have a normal Asian hair. Woo. I also have normal Asian hair. Also, guys, I've been noticing my hair has been like it's like turning curly or wavy. I don't know. It's a little weird. Like when I was younger, it used to be like super straight. Like I have pitch black straight hair. Okay, and then now my hair is like turning wavy. Me not sharing my shower time because it's bad? What? What do you mean, Yoshi? Yeah, what do you guys think in the shower? Sussy things? Wanna see some water? We should shower together. Hey yo, that's gonna. Is that saving water though? Cause you guys are gonna have the water running for longer. Haha. You know? Just kidding. Jesus. I blame Shem. Why you blame me? Yeah, it makes sense though, cause my mom has curly hair, and then my sister has curly hair. Yeah. Can be sussy things, sometimes about life, sometimes just sharing into the white abyss. Oh my god. Hey yo. Whenever I take shower, guys, I'm always thinking about like, what's it like projects I want to do, like animations and webtoon stuff. Like, oh my god, this would be such a good scene, yada yada, and stuff. And like, you know, I become a little delulu in the shower, you know. Yeah, Noah. I don't know why she always bugs whenever I'm streaming. She's so, it's almost like she knows. When I shower, my mind resets. Your mind resets? Oh my god, he's a robot, guys. He's an actual bot. It's crazy. My mind literally thinks about all the interaction I had with people that day. Really? Oh my god. Oh yeah, I also think like, I don't know. Like I think a lot about like people too, but like how I'm so grateful of people. Like sometimes I'm in the shower and I'm like, oh Jesus, Shiwing is so nice. He's such a good big brother, yada yada. But I freaking hate him. He's yeah, and I start thinking about like all the conversations we had, yada yada, you know, and how I'm so depressed. Yeah. Is that weird? Oh, what do you think about me? Nothing. Wink, wink. Hello, Chewy. Welcome in. Like I have a clear mind again. Yeah. Oh my god. Head empty. Oh my god. Thank you for the hydrate. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the hydrate, Chewy. Thank you. Thank you. Abuser, drown her. I have a Mountain Dew here. I'm gonna just chug it. Alright, Shen, I'll wait for your beautiful copy pasta reading moment. Alright, alright. Okay, we should just start the game, huh? Alright. I remember I died here and then my power went out and then no now I'm here. No, thinks you're crazy? Yeah, she does. I hate her so much. She's such a sly dog. She's like staring right at me, and like, oh, Yukine is like next to her, just like judging her. Alright, guys, I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna go grab a water bottle, or probably another soda. We'll see. We will see. Boom, boom, boom. I am back. I got myself a Mountain Dew. Cause I need some I need some sugar in my system. Here. Oof. Alright. Alright. I is ready. Ew, white boy gamer drink. It was only like drink soda like in the fridge. Is it a dad or a monster? Yep. And like if I drink a monster, then I'm gonna stay up for much longer than I should be. Guys, I am. I only had like 3 hours of sleep. Alright? You know, I wanna sleep good tonight, not stay up. Okay. I show you a monster. Hey yo! Is it the giant dildo? What are they called? What are they called? Is it? You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. Bad dragon. Yes, bad dragon. Yes, bad dragon. Damn, Bun, this is wild that you know that. Oh my god. Okay, I know there's a monster. It's gonna be a monster right there. More handgun ammo, please. Put this together. Grenade of 3 health. Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. Oh, you died there because of the spiky monster? Yeah. Oh shoot. Oh shoot. Forgot this. Okay. And it's gonna come back to life. I remember.
What the fuck?
Please! Is it dead? Oh, he exploded everywhere, guys. Wait, Mossy has bad dragons? You're kidding. No way. Wait, I would love to see.
Get that lever.
Oh my god. He's by? Oh yeah, I know. Oh fuck. Well, my bad. Okay. I didn't know he collects though. That's crazy. Oh my god. The timing is so bad. Okay. He's really into pegging. Hey yo! Wait, can I get involved? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Why you be showing his biz here, Buzz? Oh my god. Behave yourself. I will behave. I will behave. Why are you missing the? Wait, there's a treasure here that I missed. Where's the treasure? Treasure? Oh wait, it's not even here. Wait, there's a grenade here. Hold on. Did I forget this grenade? Handgun ammo, grenade. Alright. Alright, Ashley, let's go! Oh, that's bad dragon? Yeah, that's bad dragon. I was so lost. Yeah, bad dragon is a it's a brand.
Power.
Wait, bad dragon is not a band? No, it's a lifestyle, guys. It is a lifestyle. Is that a better way to
Get this for me.
say it? Imagine dragon is a band. Imagine dragging these nuts. I don't want to drag it though. You guys don't like dragging? Does it hurt? Okay, Leon. Leon. Let's see, over here. Ooh. Okay. It hurts? Like a lot? Like, guys, I'm so curious. I want to know what it feels like to have a... like like you know, an extra limb and a second pair of boobs. You know, it's a second pair of sacks. How do you know? Right? How do you know, Buns? You dragged them before? Okay, there was a... right here? Okay. How does it feel to have a hole? Me? Are you asking me? Honestly, it's like... it's not that bad, you know? It feels the same. I mean, you have a you know, everybody has a butthole, right? It's basically just that, but like wetter. Does it make sense? Also, you have to be like more cautious because, you know, more hygienic. Holy fuck. Holy fuck. Ah! She's dead. Oh my god! I shot her. Fuck. Fuck! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Is it not dead? I killed her! Yo! Please! It's okay. It's oh my god, why did she have to like do that? Fuck Ashley! Oh my god. Jesus Christ. Freaking Ashley! Oh my god. Ashley, you did too? Oh no. Okay. Good break. You know what? I got it. I know what to do, I think. Oh, this, right? No? Oh my god!
What?
You know it.
What?
You got it.
What? I don't get it. Clip that. Clip that. No. Clip that.
Oh my god, Buzz, your clip is... your video is so loud.
No, clip that, bro. Ain't no way.
Okay. Oh fuck. Why is he not turning around?
Give me a break already.
Why would this guy die? And then this guy's gonna show up.
I'm fine.
Okay. Easy. Oh my god. Get your ass up!
Next.
Woo! Ow! Fuck! Woo! go. Black bass. Oh, I'm gonna eat this. This is the very suspense music. Okay, and I have to do this, right? No? Wait, no. Wait. That opens the door. Green herb? Okay. Am I missing anything here? Control panel lever. Oh my god, I managed to just outrun that monster and actually kills it. Actually kills the monster? Wait, she could kill monsters? I thought she was like a weakling who doesn't do anything unless you die. Okay. Not terminal. Okay. Do this one first. Oh. Like this. Like this. Like this. I think this is correct, right? And then this one. No? Okay. Oh. No, this is correct. I think this one, right? Like this. Okay. Oh my god. Welcome in, Dark Shadows. Welcome, welcome. How are you? How is your day? Yeah, the bridge, she would trap it. Oh, I see, I see. Trap me in the room. Welcome in, readers. Welcome, welcome.
Do you suffer from a lack of a father figure? Do you have clinical depression?
Hey, yo. Oh, my clip player is so broken.
Have you ever accidentally broken your mom's favorite
Hello,
coffee cup, and
hello.
when she found out
How
you
was
did
your
it, she tied you to a bed
stream?
and
What did
spanked
you
with a
play? What did you do? Hello, hello, Sanika. Am I saying your name right?
metal spatula. If you said yes to any of these things,
How's your stream? Oh,
I don't
ignore
care.
my broken
And to keep it
ass
being,
clip
no one
player.
cares.
That is insane. That punchline.
Oh my god, oh my god, welcome in, little mommy. It was good. How about you? I'm doing great. I'm like living off like 3 hours of sleep. But it was good. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I have a very wild day today, but here I am playing some RE1. Oh, RE4. I mean, haha. I play Silent Hill, and yes, ooh, Silent Hill. Nice, nice. It was good. Ooh, I haven't played Silent Hill. Should I play it though? I put on my list. We like little ones here. Hey yo, no we don't, guys. No we don't. We don't like little ones. We like legal ones. Okay. Silent Hill 2 remake is coming. Is it actually? What? Oh my god. Oh my god. Maybe I will play it when it comes out. Ooh. Her list of 100 games to play? Yeah. I have so many games I really want to play. Or like people ask me to play, but like I only stream like once or twice a week. So it's gonna have to wait. This October? Wait, that's so soon. Like actually so soon. What? Oh my god, now I gotta save up money to buy a game? Oh. That's not what I meant by little. Don't bend my words. You need to, you know, be more clear. Okay, mom. Okay, little ones. Too many games. Exactly, right? Too many games. Yeah, right now I'm on like a Resident Evil era. Or like binge. You know, I started at 1, now I'm at 4. It's been a fun ride. Loving the series. Game is expensive. It really is. Yeah. Little buddy. Alright, buddy. Quick chaos, come donate. It's fine, it's fine. Might as well do RE5 to 8. You know, I do plan on doing RE5 to 8. Interesting. But I don't know who to play RE5 with. Like, I'm too indecisive. Ooh.
With me.
And like, I don't want to hurt feelings. Okay. No, give me ammo. But RE4 is awesome. RE4 is awesome. I've been loving it so much. Besides, you know, Ashley. So thank you for the follow, little mommy. Thank you for the follow, Senika. Thank you, thank you. Welcome to the club. I mean, right now I'm playing all the classic Silent Hill games, prepping up for the new Silent Hill. What? Oh my god. Guys, he's a gamer. He's an actual gamer. Oh my god. I feel like... Did I miss something? No? Okay. Hello. What do you have for me?
What you buying?
What am I buying? I don't know. What do you have for me?
That cash in your pocket or your life?
Heavy grenade. Should I just... Hold on. What if I could build something here? I could! Okay. Let's do this one and the green one. And then... Blue... Alright. I have a coin.
Back any welcome. Got a selection.
Give me money!
Things on sales. Thank
Okay. Can I tune up my knife?
That's
Armor.
good work, if I do say so myself.
Riot gun. Gaming. Yes, gaming. I'm a crack gaming goat, guys. In case you don't know, I'm actually a goat. I know I don't have horns. Somebody took them, and you know I'm a smooth watermelon head right now. But I swear I have horns. Okay, guys, I'm a actual goat. Lady, just choose someone. Okay, I'm indecisive. Okay, we care about the content. Alright. I'll think about it. Maybe I'll just skip it. I think only UA minds. I see. Oh, true. I remember she only played RE7 recently. Ooh. RE7.
Money, mate.
Killer 7 is really good. Killer 7? Wait, you fought Crosser already? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I think, yeah. How long did it take for you? Not that long. I think. I don't know. I don't know. Did I fight him? I don't think I fought him. No. I did the knife fight. I remember that. Yeah, the horns back. Yeah, I got the horns back. my cute little handlebars. I was send my little cousin your way with the knife that he chose. Go, you can play alone with AI if you want. Oh, but like that's not fun though. Maybe, I don't know. I'll think about it. Then you're faster. You don't remember? I don't remember.
Stand there or what?
Oh, sorry. Don't yell at me. Okay. Let's do ammo.
Dazzled, are you?
Very dazzled.
Craftsmanship demands no less. Not enough cash,
Oh.
stranger.
He's so mean.
Your weapons are in good hands, mate. I'll
Okay.
see you right.
TMP.
We're starting to get an idea of your tastes, friend.
Below speed.
Dazzled, are you? Our craftsmanship demands.
I have 29.
Anything
What can I
else
get with
you know?
29? The
That
gold
is
token.
giving me.
Elegant
Years haven't
mask.
been kind to us, I suppose.
Now I might as well get this, right?
Oh, I knew you'd choose that one.
Exclusive upgrade ticket.
There's some things money can't buy.
I'd get this then.
Good instinct, stranger.
Thank you.
Wield it. Don't get
Can I decorate it? And then yellow.
yourself killed well.
And I'm gonna sell it. Give me money. Wait, that's only 24. Oh my god. That's so cheap.
Deal well.
Bully me so you can bully me, Shen? Bully me then? Oh.
Pleasant travel.
He wants to get bullied? Ayo. Oh yeah, before was... Yeah, I did it. I did the knife fight, and then that's where Louis died. I remember. And I haven't done this part yet.
Leon!
Catch? Okay, what if I don't want to catch her? Can I just leave her? She would jump down if you don't.
Leon!
Is she actually? Yeah, get down.
Leon!
You can. She could have done that all by herself. What the heck? Calling out for me? Oh, Jesus. Let her jump down, let her break her leg. Oh my god. Wait, this feels like a boss battle right here. Hold on. I have this. Heal. Grenade. Hold on, let me make sure all my bullets are loaded. You know? Okay. Sussy. It feels so sussy here. Hold on. More handgun ammo? What am I supposed? What? Oh, here I are.
Leon! Look,
See, she just wants to grab on Leon's arm. Don't let you do the same. I will do the same. I mean, you know, any chance I could get, right? You know? That's smart shit. Admirable. Thanks. Thank you. Hey, where do we go? That's where we came from? Did we go in here? Oh my god.
Wrecking ball.
I came in like a wreck!
I got this.
Wow, and... Wow. That's surprising. She could drive this. She could drive this and, and she couldn't jump down. Are you kidding?
Ever heard of driver's ed? Get back.
What? Our house? Ooh, house moving castle. Blonde, tall, blonde, and hot, right, guys? Uh-oh.
Leave our friends to me.
Not the mass battle. Oh fuck. Woo! Where's you at? Where you at? Yo, grenade? What do you mean, ma'am? Oh my god. Oh my god! It was too late! Oh my god. Wait, can I get hit with that wrecking ball? Please! What the heck? Okay. Kick him! Kick him! Kick him! Okay. Woo! Oh my god. Oh my god, Ashley! Oh! Shit! Ashley! Are you gonna die too? I thought you were a good driver, Ashley! Oh my god. Boosted her own ego that she took driver's ed. You took it off for a long time. Ashley, come on. I'm waiting.
Beating that bad. I'm happy to oblige.
Okay. Rocket launcher. Uh-oh. Okay. Fuck. Fuck. Okay. Die! Oh my god! Oh my god! Wait, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. Fuck! Get off me!
These people don't learn.
Fuck! I hate crowds. Get out! Stop! Fuck! Get away from me! Holy shit! Hit them with your wrecking ball, please! Fuck. Please don't hit me with that. Bro! Are you dead? What's the other dude? Okay. God, so much ammo wasted. I could have gone up here. I could have gone up here. Oh my god. TMP is in my time. It is not. It is not.
I think you might have found your calling.
Well, how come you name it the big guy? The big guy? There was a big guy? Is he in my chat right now? Damn, that hardcore difficulty. Did you meet a big guy, Itoshi? Big guy right here. I guess it's not on standard. Oh, I see. Well, womp womp. Yeah, like the pig mask dude. Oh yeah, I fought him. Right? I fought him. I just killed him first. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you did? Yep. Easy. Alright. Come on, Ashley, let's go. Oh, fuck. I forgot to grab that. Oh, well, it's fine.
You know,
It's fine. I don't even use flash grenades. It's okay. Okay, let me boost your ego. I died twice on that stage. Oh, he sucks. It's okay. You're playing on hardcore mode though.
no fun.
No, you motherfucker. Anything here for me to grab? Anything here for me to loot? After I boost your ego, you calling me suck? Hey. You know, you... What's that saying? You... Oh, never mind. You take every opportunity you get. Right? Am I saying that right? It doesn't sound right. Transporting the amber. I must stress the news of the extreme caution when handling the amber deposit from underneath the castle. Work with the utmost respect and obedience. It is imperative that you do not disturb the holy Bibles. Oh, holy body's slumber. Holy body? You live in and you learn. Caution. Caution. Chibin! How is Valorant? Hi, I hope you're having a good stream. I am having a great stream. Great stream. Thank you for the like. Thank you for the like, mom. Hope you're having fun. Make sure you lock your doors, lock your windows. I'm actually gonna be the one looking you. Ha ha ha. Okay. Thing for me to grab. Oh, crystal. Valo. Is it bad? I kind of want to play some Valo too. Superior species report. Dearest Lord Sadler, I am overjoyed to report wonderful news! Protection of the superior species of Las Plagas is officially underway. If all goes accordingly, rest assured that we will reach our ultimate goal. The Plaga is truly a magnificent organism. It has the it says she's having a great stream that almost crashes due to lag. Unless it's just me. It might be me. I'm like lagging a little bit, but it is foreign. It has the capacity to live in any vertebrate, it be human, dog, or even crow. There's no other parasite like on Earth. The superior species is particularly impressive, as it can assimilate with a host without causing any damage to the brain. No one can oppose the strength of your dominance, my lord. On the contrary, who will resist once they experience the utter joy that accompanies the absence of free will? I am living proof how ignorant I once was. In a few days, I will have finished administrating the plaga to all the high-ranking researchers, and then they too shall know. And when your plan is complete, the whole world shall know. Annabel Garcia Escudero, head researcher. Okay. Got it. Okay. Thing here for me to grab. Oh wait, there's a treasure there. And I missed it? Oh my god. Over here, right? Wait, who was it? Here? Am I blind? Oh. Found it. Okay. Okay, Ashley. Ready? Oh. Parasite? Eggs? Well, hope you have a good stream. I'm gonna get some sleep. But you seem pretty awesome. Thank you. No, you're awesome. Thank you for the raid. And thank you for the follow. Thank you for sharing your community with me. Hope you have a good night. Make sure you lock your doors, lock your windows, lock your closet, because I'm gonna lurk. Have a good night. And thank you so much.
Far more. Tell someone who gives a shit.
Oh.
Foolish lambs. Why do you deny greed?
Oof. Oh.
Now,
He heals.
abandon your body.
Abandon your body.
Obey the voice of our Lord.
Ashley?
Sweet child, do not resist.
What? Her aim is actually so good. What the heck? She could one-shot that guy, but she couldn't look behind herself. Uh-oh.
Pray forgive these wicked sinners. My faithful disciples shall deliver to you your penance. Now, child, you need not be afraid. Submit your body and release yourself from fear.
Ooh. Leon. Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on what? Hold on these nuts! I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I apologize.
You bastard.
You bastard! He tries killing Leon, but since there isn't any ammo, he just gives up. Well, he doesn't... I think his goal isn't to kill Leon, though. His goal is to just take, Ashley. You know? Right? Cause Leon's already infected, so why kill him and you can make him your own? You know? Your puppet, you know? Mom, you're not sorry? Give me those nuts. We're showing you like macadamia nuts, almonds, walnuts, peanuts. Okay. Okay, there's like 3 guys there. I don't think I could sneak attack them. Hey, why do I go this way? Goat nuts. Oh my god, guys, the other day I saw goats. It was so cute. It was such a cute goat. Like I saw like an actual goat. Like I was literally like 3 feet behind it. Such a cute goat. It's like a little baby goat too. I wanted to pet it, but it didn't want to come near me, so I was a little sad. I was literally gonna force myself to or force it to come to me so I could pet it, but I was like, yeah, that's a little mean, Shannon. Okay, defenses development. Per your request, redevelopment of the island is well underway. Weapons and other defensive equipment have been set up to guard against any outside intruders. By the time we are finished, the island will be a giant fortress. Okay. These defenses won't hold up long term, but they should last until we carry out our plan. And once accomplished, we'll be that much closer to our ultimate goal of world domination. None will be able to resist our power. Jack Krauser. Ooh. Ooh. I want to see Whiskers. I don't know why. I low-key miss him. Like, I saw him, like, what? In RE1 and then never, ever again. Ever. Again. Whiskers. Yeah, Whiskers! Whiskers. I feel like it's a lot easier to pronounce it as Whiskers, you know? JK. No pick of goat. No pick of goats. No pick of goats. Yo. Shan complimented herself in the mirror. Whiskers. Whiskers. Is there... Should I just draw a grenade? You think that'll kill them? You think they know? Oh shit, this guy's zooming. Okay. Albert Wesker. His first name is Albert? He'll return soon? But without the T? Whiskers. Wes? Yes, Albert? Oh my god. Don't you guys ever get like surprised whenever you figure like you figure out someone's name and like it's like the total opposite of what you thought it was it was, you know? Like it surprises you so much. Like imagine you meet up with a guy, like you're like online friends with someone for the longest time, and then he goes, "Oh yeah, my real name is Doug," and now you're like, "Doug?" Your parents must hate you. Haha. Is that mean? Okay. At least your name isn't Shen. It's fine. Ooh, dog tags. Case file. Operation Javier. Operation Javier. Few people have heard the name, even within the highest rank of the US government. And little wonder too, the operation was not made public. It was conducted in secret, and then buried. The reason being, it was too inhumane. It all started back in 2002, when a small unit of the US Special Forces was sent to infiltrate an area of South America. The mission was to eradicate the drug cartels. The whole operation took several years to prepare for, and only the most elite soldiers were selected to participate. I don't know if the mission was a failure or not, but I do know the fate of those elite soldiers were... Oh, elite soldier once it was over. Apparently the entire unit was wiped out, except for the commanding officer, Mayor. It was blacked out. And not by the cartel, but by the US. It should have been difficult to extract a single stranded unit. All it would have taken was a single helicopter, but for some reason the military didn't act. Rumors said the decision was the outcome of the power struggle among the top brass. Others says it was a directive from the former president himself, but we will never know the truth since it was all covered up. But I am certain of one thing. The US government let those people die. Brave young people who dedicated their lives to protect their country. I want to expose this crime not because it is my responsibility as a reporter, but because it is my duty as a fellow American. America! Note 1. This document concerns Operation Javier and was written by an American journalist named Blink. Note 2. This article will never be published. Blink has already been taken care of. Ah. I see. Who is the reporter? Who's the journalist? I see. Oh, I'll see. Oh, I see what you mean. I was super surprised. Your name is Shen, coming off guard. Ooh. Oh wait, that's me! I'm waiting. Wait, how did they get this picture of me? Oh, my face all beat up too. Oh. Somebody spying on me. This is ready for you, Shen. Oh.
You've done well to make it this far, rookie. I've prepared a battlefield up ahead just for us soldiers. Watered by the blood of generations, hundreds of years.
Oh my god.
It's the perfect place to put an end to what happened 2 years ago.
Damn, bro's been waiting. He set up a whole, like, stadium for us to fight in, and he's waiting for me there. Oh my god, that's so romantic. Oh my god, he's done more than the average guy. Ashley Graham abduction. Phase 1, depart from campus with the target. Escort the target as usual until the start of phase 2. There should be 3 others inside the vehicle, including Baker. Baker? I hardly even know her! I'm sorry. Abel's unit will follow behind you in a separate vehicle. Continue to drive your normal route. Phase 2. Start the vehicle under the pretense of a engine trouble. Transfer the target to Abel's vehicle. Phase 3. Abel's unit will change course, subdue, and restrain the target. Place the target in a large container. Container? I hardly even know her. Okay, guys, I'm done. Phase 4. Baker's unit will create a diversion. Henry's unit will infiltrate the investigation database and disable the network. Phase 5. Meet at point K9 and transfer the cargo into ship. Ah, I see. He is nice enough to set that up, all planned out for you. I know, right? Oh my god, he has me in his mind. That's kind of, oh my god, that's kind of romantic. He's just thinking about me. That's, oh my god, that's, oh my god, guys, that's kind of crazy, right? Can I craft more handgun ammo? Let's go. Okay. I do. Might as well do this. Submachine gun ammo. Okay. Okay, my black horse is my TMP, guys. Because I don't have any, like, shotgun ammo. Anything else? Oh. Wait! More handgun ammo? go. Sussy. Oh my god, but look at this! It's a red carpet, guys! He even decorated it with a red carpet? Wow, wait, that's so romantic. With lights too? Oh my god, that's... Oh, damn. So sweet of him, right? So sweet of him. Oh my god. The repeated jokes. It's still funny when she says it. I love repeated joke.
Gun rhymes
Oh my
with
god.
for a reason, stranger.
Alright.
Welcome.
Welcome.
I interest you in.
Taking notes. Is this how we propose? Yeah. Honestly, it's kind of funny.
I don't always have this in stock, stranger. Better
alright.
to be over-prepared.
Heavy grenade.
Right?
I might as well take it, right?
Information is a commodity these days. Come back when you can actually pay, mate.
Damn. Calm down. Sheesh.
Your
56?
weapons are in good hands.
Oh, can I sell something? 1, 2. Yeah, I could.
Welcome. Got a selection.
So
of
this,
good things
and
on
this.
sale, stranger. Thank you.
Tune up my TMP.
Try
Alright, max power. Alright. Anything else?
What's
No.
that? How have we procured these curiosities? Come back anytime.
Come back anytime. Okay, so many submachine gun ammo. It's gonna be worth it. It's totally gonna be worth it. Save. Okay, 44. Oh my god. Giving TMP some love. Yeah, cause it's the only ammo I can make. Okay, you know, it's the only ammo I can freaking make. Ooh. Got a light setup and everything. This is crazy. This will actually make me fall in love, guys. And don't joke. I'm a big fan of like castles and like Renaissance stuff. So, you know, being in a broken down castle is like, oh my god. That's kind of like romantic. As long as you don't stab us. That's funny. Are we gonna do another knife fight?
Give it up, Krauser.
Krauser.
Being a lackey for these maniacs won't bring your men back. And what the hell for? Revenge on the
Oh
government?
shit, he's buff.
You think they would want that? Revenge. You think I'm doing all this for revenge? Isn't that what this is all about? See, in that jungle, I had a revelation. The most
Died 10
important
times?
thing in this
Would you dare to
world
beat it?
is
You know?
pure, unadulterated.
Okay, if I die less than 5 times, guys,
Those Illuminados have given me that.
I'll do a punishment.
At least you had some kind of code.
If I die more than 5 times, I'll do a punishment.
Enough reminiscing. Move out and draw fire, soldier.
What kind of punishment? I don't know, anything. You know, I have no shame. Oh shoot.
Like I have a choice. What's wrong?
Come out!
You better hustle. Who knows what's become of the girl?
Free karaoke? You want free karaoke? Where is he? Show yourself! Where is he? Is he? You little rat, Krauser. Oh my god. Is he hiding like a little rat? Okay, I need a wheel. Where did he go? Before I do that, got this. Also, is Crosser the name that was blacked out on the note? Maybe. No, the name that was blacked out on the note was the mayor. I think the mayor's name, and then the journalist. Honestly, I feel like the journalist might be Ada, right? Ada's a journalist, kind of. Right? Am I tripping? She's a spy? Honestly, I don't even know what she does.
Remember the fight in the jungle? He barely made it out alive.
A major! Major!
That was the first thing.
That's a mayor! Whoops. Can I disable this? No?
He's turned this place into one big trap. I can't fight him on his terms.
Oh! Oh, fuck! You little rats! Shoot him, Leon! Let's shoot him, Leon! Ah, this is fucking magician! This little magician rat. Oh my god. Oh. Where did I go? I'm so confused. Okay, I can't go there, right? Or can I? Can I shoot it? Okay. Hmm.
Ready to die, Boogie.
Okay. He can use his bow and arrow. That's kind of hot. Whoa! What the heck is shooting me? Oh shit. Ah! Oh. Okay. NT. I couldn't even see that!
I'm no stranger to covert tactics.
What the fuck is he?
How can I forget? Shit.
Where is he? Wait, where's that coming from? Here? Okay. This is a Wii game called Resident Evil Dark Side Chronicle, and that's where Leon and Crosser met. Oh! Run! Oh my god, Leon. Okay.
I love a good hug.
Come out. Come out.
Still alive, huh? You got lucky.
Where is he? Show yourself! Little rat. Here's the definition of rat. Oh god. You have a Wii? You should play it. It's an arcade. Oh! Unfortunately, I don't have a Wii. I have a Switch. Okay. Oh. No, 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 no. Okay. Get this? I got it. I got it. Watch. One life. There's another laser there. Get a little B-word.
I admit, you've done well to stay alive this
Let's
long.
see.
I'd be dead if I kept listening to people like you.
Yeah, don't listen to people.
The Reaper comes for cowards and the careless alike. Which are you?
I don't know. Guess I'll ask when I see him. Well, you've really gone all out for me. You shouldn't have.
Can I just snipe him?
To make the pretty boy feel special.
I don't see him. Ah! Fucking shit! I got greedy. 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 Ah! Okay. It's okay. It's okay. I can last another one, right? Ah! Oh fuck. Fuck! Okay. Run, 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 run. Run! Damn, Jesus Christ! Where am I supposed to go? This one, this one.
There's nowhere to run. Come out and fight.
You come out, for you don't want hiding! Oh my god. Come out. Come out. Come out. Come out.
Since when were you such a coward?
Is he gonna come out?
You passed with flying colors.
Ah, Jesus. Oh my god. He won't come out? Wait, what a rat! As a welcome in, hero. Welcome, welcome.
This is it, soldier.
No! He just hit TP against me! You trust me! Oh my god, oh my god. I'm gonna die.
Making mistakes.
I'm not falling for your mind games.
Woo! I need reload, I need reload! Woo.
Sure you don't need a breather? That army is supposed to be killing you.
Opening a new wound is the best way to forget
Woo!
an old one.
You're really doing this?
Fuck!
Not too late.
You don't knife her, oh my god!
Me or two sides of the
Ah! No! Okay. I'm good, I'm good.
see eye to eye. You made all this work. You haven't learned a thing.
Jesus Christ! Okay. Oh,
We done here, Krauser?
take off his skin. Hat?
Told you.
Parry? I forgot how to parry. You must really enjoy him stabbing you, you masochistic. Hey. Got this. You just aim with knife? Okay, alright. Left click, I think? Is it actually left click? I feel like it's E.
That's the difference between you and me, rookie.
Oof.
Time to finish your training.
In the dark? Ooh, he likes lights off.
Witness the power! You've lost it completely, Krauser.
Okay, okay. Need ammo. Oh! Oh shit! Fuck! He's gonna fucking shit on me. I know, I see you, I hear you. I'm about to die! Oh my god.
So that's your true power? Oh, I'd ask for a refund.
Honestly, yeah. Come out.
Congratulations on your newfound faith. Fight is for the weak.
Saw you, I saw you.
Power is real.
Power? Yellow herb? Why did you give me yellow herb?
What do you get out of this?
I want the red herb.
Becoming one of these freaks. Soldiers are pawns. Tools to be discarded once they're past their use. I will use this power to break that cycle.
Fuck! I clicked it! Oh my god! Are you kidding me?
I can't wait to see you ride.
It's fine, it's fine. It's fine, it's fine. It's fine, it's fine. It is fine. I will survive. I will survive. Easy. Okay. I've been sick, sleeping all day, just got up. Oh! What? Missy lost some medicine, Harold. Rest well. Watch my stream. I'm kidding. Yeah, get lots of sleep.
Last lesson starts right now.
Forget sleep. Don't be like me. Get sleep. Get lots of sleep.
Confidence.
Watch you stream will heal me. Oh my god, how do I parry again? Woo! Kick it ass! Kick it ass! Is this it? How do I avoid that? Did I just climb up?
There won't be anything left to protect. You'd have known that once. That's where you're wrong. I didn't know a damn thing. Now I do. You can't deny this power. Imagine
Oh fuck.
and turn into a freak like you. You gotta be out of your mind.
That was so easy, guys! That was so easy! Wait, one first try? Guys!
You have to do.
This was so much easier than battling that freaking little king guy with the eggs. Is this hardcore? No, this is this is standard. I died like 20 times and she does her first try. My ego got stepped so bad. Oh my, can he step on? I feel better now. Honestly, should I try hardcore? Oh shit. But I did it hardcore? Yeah, you did it hardcore. Now I want to see how hardcore feels like now. Oh my god. This was so much easier.
Major. How you did?
Ooh, Leon. I have a cool fighting knife. Does this break? There you go. Go after Ashley. I mean, to be fair, I barely used my pistol while fighting him, so. It was all shotgun, baby. My TMP, baby. Oh. Shit wants a hardcore. Hey yo. Hey yo. You're pretty much close to the ending. Ah. Yeah, it breaks, but better. Ah, okay. I think I know where this is going. Yeah, shotgun is really powerful. Yeah, it really is. That's why you're not supposed to use it. Now you have to fight Ada. Ada? Mommy? Ada? Mommy? Okay. Chapter... this one. Alright, alright. I do have the DLC though, and I really want to play on stream. Let me see. I might actually start after this. We'll see, we'll see. Make your way to the summit. Okay. Should I heal myself? I should be fine, right? I should be fine.
Their defenses are no joke. That's gotta be the
How long is the DLC? I think it's like 5 hours long. From what I read online. It's like 5 hours long. Is it worth to race the shed? You wanna race again? Oh my god. Is that everything? Okay. There you go. You're not tired? Me? I am tired. I would love to sleep right now, but I'm gaming.
Welcome.
I'm gaming.
Good luck to you, stranger.
Knife. Durability. Armor.
Knife needs that's good work.
What's
if
that?
I do say so myself.
Reload speed. Stingray reload speed.
This kind of work is about finesse, stranger.
There you go. Maxed.
Little bit goes a long way. You'll see. Got a selection of good things on sale, stranger.
Good things on sale. Okay.
Pleasant travel.
Alright, let me save it again. Okay, I'm pumped! Okay. Oh. There you go. Yeah, about 5 hours. Well, that's one, I don't know. So both of us doesn't know what's going to happen. So it's a more fair race. Oh, you really want to race, huh? Toshi. Poggers. Oh. Right. Oh, alt. Shoot him in the crotch. Oh, what in the world?
What was that?
What in the world? Who are you? What? My cock? No, I'm sorry. Oh my god, Mike. Yeah, my back, Mike. Oh my god. What? What do you mean what? Mike, you don't got my back, you liar. I did not say anything. You heard nothing. I'm just a silly little goat. Shoot them, shoot them. Fuck! Are you shooting me? Don't shoot me! What the heck? Fuck, bro, I thought you were helping me! Why am I dying? Oh my god. No, they keep coming! Oh shit! Get out of here. I need to reload. Oh my god. My cock! My pog! Thank you for the leg! Thank you, thank you! Alright. Okay. Got him, got him. Got everyone? Can I loot? Give me items, please. Did I go over here? Oh. Sheesh! You can parry the rocket launcher? No, you're lying. You're lying! That's not right. That seems so impossible though. Shit, you can parry the missile? No! I don't think you could. You guys are lying to me. Okay. Go up, go up. Try it. No, 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 no. I am not gonna try it. You think I'm dumb, huh? And naive, huh? Only one way to find out. I don't trust you. I don't trust you. I don't trust anyone who tells me I can do stuff. Usually it's the other way around. You can't do it. Oh. Got it, got it. You trusted me last time. Why not now? I don't know. You guys are being a little saucy right now. How do I get in? How do I get in? This is where I came from, right? Down here? Oh shoot. Stop yelling at me! I don't do good under pressure. Yo! Oh god. Fuck! Please! Please don't hit me, please don't hit me! Fuck. Run! Jesus Christ! This is so chaotic! Please. Okay. Bro, get out of here. Coño, I missed! Oh my god.
Sorry. Must have slipped.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Noise. Hurry! Did they climb up to the turret? Fudge. You know what? I'm just gonna run. Run! 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 Yeah, run! Jeez. How the heck did I get up there? Get out of here! Oh my god. Get away from me, get away from me, get away from me, get away. Get away from me, get away from me! Stop! Oh my god. Stop! We got shit! What the fuck happened? Wait. I don't know what I'm doing.
Time for a taste of your own medicine.
Oh. Fuck!
Body armor's not looking great.
Stop attacking me! You annoying MF!
Mike! All clear!
That's it? How is that guy still alive? Oh. Fuck! Wait! Bro, just don't die. Oh shoot, scared the heck out. Hit? Okay. You didn't parry correctly. I wasn't trying to parry, okay? Jeez. Mike, bring the hog over here. Hey, yo. Who is he shooting at? Oh shit. Okay. God. Okay, gates open. Let me loot this room first. I need healing items. Oh. Run! Wait, did I go the right way? Over here, right? Is this right? No, it's not. Wait, am I? I'm so confused. I don't know where I'm going.
Give me a break already.
Oh, this. Sheesh! Sheesh! Oh my god! Get off that freaking turret! There's another guy here, right? On the turret? Come on. No way.
Damn.
Oh!
I knew.
Oh shit! I'm dead. Treasure on the bridge if you want. You know what? Too late! It's already too late. Fuck. You know what? Come out, you little rat. Okay. Is that the last guy? Right? That's the last guy, right? Oh shit. Let me loot down here first. Red herb, red herb. Oh, loot. You really didn't want to see karaoke for us, lol? I don't think you died once. No, I didn't. I did not die once. I'm just that good. I'm just that good. Oh, here we go. Okay. Anything else? Oh, handgun ammo. Okay. Did you know Toshi sing a song for us? What? He did? Did he actually? They should have made this part more difficult. Yeah, look, I'm like, you know, running around freely. Honestly, they should. I thought there would be like more enemies. Oh my god. Did Toshi really sing for you guys? What did he sing? Is it in his VOD? Should I watch it? A whole new world. A whole new world. You know what? Oh. Die!
You're serious.
You know, spider rats. Okay. Dash. Okay. Can I jump down? Encontrado. Is that a pig? Hold on. Can I go back? I'm gonna go back up. When does the turret again? Fuck! No more! No more ammo! No more ammo! Oh my god! Whoa! He's dead. Okay. Fuck. No, no, no. Try and get down! Okay. Military guys in a news crossbow? You're right! Honestly, crossbow is such a cool weapon. Anything that uses arrow is really cool. How do I get over there? Okay. Oh, ladder right here. Ladder? I hardly even know her. Okay. Anything, nothing. Shotgun shells. It's gold. Gold right here. Vessels. Doors open. I only have like 11 handgun bullets. It's fine. Okay. What is that? Can I shoot that? Or is that light? Get in!
Thanks.
Get in the copter!
Drinks are on me. I know a good bar.
Am I gonna grapple on? Grapple? Oh, ladder.
Nice and slow.
Oh, he dies? He dies? Of course he dies. Bro shows up for like one little segment and then he dies immediately. Mike Hawk! Oof.
I'll make sure you're the next to lose.
Oh shit. Where's the little mosquitoes? Okay. All of them? Oh my god. Sneezing. Handgun ammo. Blue medallion? Okay, 1 out of 5. You caught the mosquitoes? Yeah. Yeah, the mosquitoes, right? What are they then? Parasites? What else do you call them? They look like mosquitoes. Wait, did I go in here? It's a ladder that goes down. It's secret tunnel! Secret tunnel. Okay. I thought they looked like locusts. What is what is a locust? I don't think I know what a locust is. Either way, any bug that you can melee is too big. Locust is like a cricket. Oh, you might be right. You might be right. The bones of our brethren rest, brethren, in all nations. The blood of our brethren provides our fruit. We only die, only to be reborn. We live on through eternity. We reign absolute. Sadler. I see. Like a grasshopper. You know, have you guys ever seen like cockroaches that can fly? Yeah, I have never seen one before, but my brother said he needs to see them a lot. And that kind of creeps me out. Chibi is playing Valo? Chibi is playing Valo? Yeah, I know. I saw her playing Valo with Kenny. Are they still playing Valo? Stop streaming, join her. I'm streaming RE1. She's okay. She got it. Okay. Did Yoshi get banned before? Not really. It was just a little joke. Yeah, he kept making like cringe statements, and I was like, ban, I'm gonna ban you. As a joke, okay, as a joke. Okay, I wasn't actually gonna ban him. Where is the medallion here? Does it go all the way up? Okay. And then there's one over here. Over here. Leave my mans alone. No cringe statement, guys. No cringe statement. The only one that can be cringe here is me. Thank you for the hydrate. Thank you. Okay. It's up the ladder. Up the ladder. Oh, here. Wow, I was only matching your cringe. Sure, buddy. Sure. Where is it? Am I blind? Over here? Is it not here? What? Oh, I see one right there. Wait, it's so hard to see. Hold on. Can I switch it with this? Okay. Wait, there's one right on top of me. Is it? Is it under me? There's one over here. This side? Oh. Across from here? What? There's nothing here. I'm so confused. Oh my god. Wait, does that mean Yoshi's actually my stepdad? Oh my god. Best husband? Hey yo! Don't make me blush in front of shit. What? Guys! It's complicated. You guys are being weird. I like it. Is it under me? I feel like it's... Okay. How do I get down there? Oh! Oh, okay. Okay. It's on this level? It's on this level. Am I just blind? Wait, it's over here. Oh, wait, I see it! Okay. Now how do I get the other one? Did I go lower? I think I have to. Okay. Where is it though? Secret tunnel. What? Like, why you guys keep throwing stuff at me? Oh my god! Welcome in, Peters. Welcome. Jeez. How are you? How was your day? Am I tripping because I don't see the blue medallion? Oh wait, I see. Never mind. This little rat. Okay.
That should do it.
Easy. Okay. Who in the world thought putting it there was a good idea? Come on. I be good. How about you? I also be good. And good is me. And me is good. And I'm doing great. I'm actually gonna play this game soon. Oh, nice. It's so fun. You should play on hardcore mode.
Thank you for the sub.
Thank you for the gifted sub. Thank you so much for the sub. That's sussy. That's sussy right there. That is sussy. That is sussy. Hold on, let me reload. I do it! Oh shit. Where's my... Okay. Come out! Dead? Actually? Is there gonna be another one? That is so sussy. Ugh. Okay. There you go. Shoot the bags. Wait, actually? Like an actual reward? Can I even break it though? Oh, you're talking about this bag. Are you lying to me? Are you actually lying to me? You little B-word! See, I knew it. Don't trust Itoshi. Don't trust Itoshi. See, I gave you one little trust and never again. Oh my god. See, biological specimen transfer. The repairs were completed without issue. Since the facility was previously used for confinement, the work required to reinforce the airtight ceiling was minimal. Oh my god, guys, I gotta burp. Okay. And as long as we don't run into any issues with the cooling system test, we plan to bring in all of the remaining specimens from Facility 1. Oh. All specimens were successfully transferred. However, we experienced a slight hiccup during during transport as one of them became violent. Luckily, the number of casualties was less than anticipated. Please be extra careful when dealing with them. We have received reports that they are beginning to acquire a tolerance to the low temperatures. Oh, low temperatures. Low temperatures. I see, I see. Anything I'm forgetting here? Nothing? Okay. Wait. What's over here? I hear a little spinning. Yeah, I got 5 out of 16. Isn't that great? I feel like I missed a whole bunch though. Literally a treasure there. Is it here? Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Wait, I missed this. Oh no, that's the room here. Never mind. Okay. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Sussy there. I smell a sussy. I smell a sussy. I smell a sussy. I smell sussy. Oh god. Not gonna lie, I was too scared on this part. I just made sure I don't wake them up. If you were good, if you were good and I was a pirate, I would treasure your chest and look for your booty. That's funny, Buns. Hilarious. That's a great joke. Maybe even the best. Fucking hell, snake! Where is it? Where did it go? Wait, where did the snake go? Okay. Okay. Here you go. Oh my god. Because you can't avoid it pretty much? Okay, so I just gotta be stealthy. Right? Stealthy. Wait, this one's open! Okay. I played this part on Pro and had no more ammo. Oh my god! Womp womp, I guess? Oh. Oh, fuck. Come on. Come on. Don't explode on me! Are they awake? No? Okay. I didn't have my biosensor scope when I did this part. Really? Oh my god. Otherwise, you can grab some gems from killing it. Oh, okay, okay. Okay, okay. Gotcha, gotcha. God. That's what she said. Oh my god, he exploded everywhere, guys. What did that open, though? What did that open? This door? No? Oh, that door, okay. Is it too late? Should I just make a run for it? You know what? That's what I'm gonna do. Okay. Okay. A damn door, you have to make a run for it? Okay, okay. Run, Leon! Okay. Easy, easy. Easy. see. Oh my gosh, that guy.
So that's a request done and dusted, eh?
Done is dusty. So quiet. Huh. What can I build? I have 2, 2, 2. 7, 4. No, let me do this one. The red one. Yes, sir. Okay.
Well
Thank you,
done.
thank you.
You've proven yourself.
I can sell this. I can sell this.
Good things on sale.
I want to keep the Viper. I'm gonna keep the
Ruby's
Viper.
all rubbish, it makes no difference. The price,
Oh shoot! I didn't sell it.
that's
Okay.
our choice to make. Stranger,
All right.
I'll pay a pity.
Another clip for my stream.
Anytime.
Hey, yo, buns, you sussy. 47. We're gonna do another mini game. This time we don't have Lewis or Ashley with us. It's fine. I stay sussy. Whoa. At least. Okay. Should I do the red 9 again? Try get an A. Okay. Oh god. Oh, we missed that one. I'm gonna say hi to Star. Alright. Say hi to Star to her. I say hi. Forge. That's my lot. Is that good? A? Silver token. Just one silver token. It's better though. As long as it's an A. Let's do this one. Fuck. I killed him. No, my aim is so bad! Wait. Okay. Come out. Oh. I don't know why I'm using shotgun for this. I killed him. I killed an innocent man. No. That's hard. What is this? 100% health recovery for black bass. 100% health? Yeah, I don't have any fish though. Yes, I'm leaving already.
You have the stench of battle on you, mate.
You saying I'm stinky? Okay, over here. I don't know. Oh, I hear him. I hear someone. Oh, he saw me. He saw me. He saw me. I'm gonna scope him. I missed.
All right.
Okay. Challenge. Parry an arrow. You're lying. I can't parry an arrow.
Almost there.
That's impossible.
Ashley, I'm coming.
Oh shit. I didn't see that. For reals? No, you're lying. You're lying. Is another archer? I don't see him though. I hear him. Oh. Is he coming? I'm so confused. Where is he?
Give me a break already.
Okay. Come here. Oh. Black bass. Okay. We do this. There we go. Wait, can I make more ammo? Craft some machine gun ammo. More submachine gun ammo. Okay. Oh shoot. It's you. What? What? Wait, oh my god. Wait, no. No, I don't want to. Oh my god. Where is he? Okay, now you're spoiling it. It's only ammo I can make, okay? I do not want to try that. I don't want to. Fuck, you little beard. Oh. Is he dead? Okay. I hear another guy. He's like grunting. Well, where is he though? He's like, What? Am I tripping? Come on, you little mosquito. What? Okay. Oh shit. god. Please, bro.
Next.
I hate it. I hate like these mass shooting. Come here! All the guys, come here! Come in here! I dare you! Come on! Oh my god! Whoa! Shit! Get away! Fuck! Okay. 7 bullets, 7 bullets. Did they drop ammo? Yes, they did! Okay. I was lucky that RPG dude was looking behind. How, shit? What do you mean how? What do you mean how? Easy. Easy. Did I forget anything? No? Let me check this room. Oh. MF, 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 MF. Are you dead? He's dead, he's dead. Okay. Get away! Get away! Get away! I'm on the bullets. Jesus Christ, get away, please! No! Shit! Easy! Little scorpion! Easy! 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 Just stand there with the shotgun. I didn't have any more ammo! Okay. There wasn't here gunpowder. Anything else? Anything else? The last boss battle is quite easy. Is it actually? Ooh. Oh, come on. It's gonna be one try for me. Watch. Simple. And there's RPG on it. I see. The easy route. I see. I'm gonna stick to my red 9. What? Okay, that moved over there. I don't have any more ammo, okay? I see, I see. Yeah, you do what you have to do, right? It is what it is, right? Okay. Craft this. This. Now I have 2 heals, 1 green herb, a viper, and a black bass. Alright. I'm ready. I'm not gonna go here. Okay. Is that it? Wait, where do I move this? Then what's over there? Nothing? What? That's nothing, right? And then this is a treasure here. Alright, alright. I'm ready. I feel like I know what's behind this door. Is it? What is it? It is what it is. That's what she said. She'll be saying more things too. I'm assuming you're gonna play separate ways after this. You know what? I think I might just save that for Saturday. Like one whole gameplay for Saturday. What is this? Adam? No, I can't open this. Where is Eve? Oh my god, Leon. Go up the stairs, please. Anything? I smell sus! Oh my god, Ashley!
Ashley!
Nah.
You have come, my child.
See that final boss?
Do you want?
I simply wish to share this gift with as many as possible. A humble wish, don't you think? You see, we are all connected through the holy body.
This reminds me of
Now
Skyrim.
your flesh and bones, your very thoughts, are already one.
Now you're gonna see my wife there? Your wife? Your wife, Claire?
Why do you reject serenity when you need only a simple gift?
Yeah? Wait, actually, Claire? No way.
Sadler?
No, not Claire. Oh. Chill. Ada. Ada to the rescue.
And the sweet mercy they bring. Exalt all and let it be so.
Uh-oh. What is this?
Go!
Okay. Wish I could get spam like that. Ada Wong. Oh my god, that's hot. Sheesh, I could have died. So careless.
Ashley. Ashley.
Did I have to carry her?
Damn it.
Okay.
Laboratory B. Looks like it's this way.
Okay, so let's just keep going straight. Keep going straight. Just keep going. Ugh. The grunts. Hey, yo. Ashley's pretending to be asleep. She's actually awake. So she's pretending to sleep just so she doesn't have to walk. That's so messed up. So bright. Uh-oh.
Still you resist, child.
It's like when you let your parents carry you. You pretend to be asleep. Uh-oh. This is kind of like Visage. Reminds me of Visage. No.
God damn it.
Oh, Visage? So creepy. I love Visage. It's actually a really fun game. Yeah. Get up, Leon! Get your ass up! Also, welcome in, Base Cakes! She just taking advantage of Leon. I didn't finish the good ending of that one. Really? Visage, I got the good ending. Yeah. Lewis is key. I wish I could have Lewis's key in me. I'm kidding. Pretends to choke and to Leon for mountain mouse. Oh, that's funny. Honestly, same. I just shot myself. Oh no. It's so silly. It's so easy to get like the good ending though. It's so silly.
You go first.
No way. Like I told you, I'm gonna get you home safe.
But, Leon, hear me out, Leon. How can you get her safe if you get infected? And she lives. But if you save yourself first, you'll still be alive to carry her dead body home. That makes sense. That's dark shit. It's logic. Okay. Am I wrong? You know, if one of us dies, for sure she's not gonna bring me home. You know? You are being dark? Okay, Itoshi, you just said earlier you shot yourself. I know, Leon. Chapter end. Alright. 48. I'm contradicting with myself. Yep, sure, buddy. Leon is main character. He has too much aura to die. You're right. You're right. Main character never dies, right, guys?
I thought you were gonna die.
You know, unless you're, you know, in Gurren Lagann, where fucking Kamina dies when he's like the main character, and then so sad. I'm still bummed out from that freaking anime.
Can you stand?
Can you stand? Spoilers? Wow, what do you mean spoilers? It literally happens like the first 5 episodes, I think. First 10 episodes. Which is like the very beginning
We're a team, right?
of the story. How come Ashley is clean again?
I'll be out of a job.
You're right. somebody throw dirt at her.
Removing the parasites. This was Luis.
Luis.
Yeah. We're alive. Thanks to him.
Escape the Island. Okay. Escape the Island! Itoshi, thank you. Well, you just spoiled the beginning for me? Okay, like you're gonna watch it, Yoshi. There are 2 ways to eradicate Las Plagas: anti-gen injections and surgery. If the parasite has not hatched yet, it can be treated by administering anti-gen directly into the body. Once it has hatched, however, not much can be done besides slow its growth. With surgery, the plaga can be targeted and killed using a certain wavelength of radiation. This is not without its risk. If the parasite has attached itself to its host nervous system, the host will experience excruciating pain. Oof. Sign me up. I'm kidding, I'm kidding. And there's no effective anesthesia for this kind of procedure. Surgical removal carries considerable risk even before the parasite has fully developed. Once fully grown, however, it is too late. Removing the parasite would kill the host, but considering what would happen to them, death may be at mercy. Ooh. I see. I wasn't, but there was a small chance I could have watched it. Ah. I see. Anything over here? You're not kidding? I'm kidding. JK. Ha 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 ha. Sailors, Animus? Do not be fooled into thinking that Las Plagas are merely tools for creating powerful bioweapons. The true value lies in their ability to control. No matter how hostile the subject, a single ingestion can turn anyone into a faithful servant. Who needs spies when you can turn yesterday's enemies into today's ally? Ally? I don't know what's that ally. Controlling just one insider can bring an entire organization, an entire country to its knees. And me, mass production of the superior species has made this possible. We have empowered Saddler. It is clear what he intends to do next. Oh. Can you imagine if Saddler had that much control? 6 billion loyal servants at his sole command. There would be no opposition, no war. Maybe for the first time in human history, the road would know peace. But I know how Saddlers and the other have pressed the people of this land for generations. I know how he treats them. There's no way to live, and because of that, I won't let it happen. Alright. Jokes on them, I'm already on my knees. I am also on my knees because my leg hurts. Amber. The symbol which I come to call the Amber, which is sitting in the storm collecting dust. We use this ample specimen for the experimentation in the past, so it makes sense that this one was overlooked. In fact, the only reason I brought it back to my lab was because of its particular shape. After a basic analysis, I changed my mind. The amber possesses a very unique quality. Although small and in a suspended state, it contains the same organ found in the dominant species, which we've only seen in Saddler himself. When fully developed, the amber may rival or perhaps even surpass Saddler's power. Unfortunately, the amber was confiscated by Saddler before I could make any further progress in my research. He may be onto me. I need to get my hands on that symbol again and escape in order to continue my research elsewhere. It's the only way to encounter Saddler. Of course, I don't think I can trust this outside group either, but I've already come this far. Hopefully I can sweet talk my way out of this one too. I'll have to, for the world's sake. Oh my god. You sly fox. Oh my god, is that the General Boots Riz? Welcome in, Riz. How are you? How is your day? Oh, I need films. I could make a film. Okay. This. The computer. Did I read this already? Subject. Regarding our arrangement from Luis. I've compiled the research data that you wanted. Meet me in the designated time and place. To be clear, you're going to get me the hell out of here if I bring you the goods, right? Oh, this is to Ada, right? Right? To Ada? No? Regarding our arrangement from Ada Wong! Okay. Oh, yeah, I forgot about the amber. Without it, the data is worthless. It would be a shame to let your seed go to waste, so do not make me return empty-handed. Do you still remember the code phrase, I assume? Regarding our arrangement, I haven't forgotten it. And don't worry about the amber, I figured something out. Then you can pick me up a pack of smokes on the way. Any brand is fine. What is the code? The code? The code. The code? Did I miss the code? Like, I'm kind of busy at the moment, but here's a alert. Take care, guys. Thank you for the alert, Riz. Hope you have a good day. A good time doing whatever you're doing. Thank you for the alert. Ooh. Yeah, thanks to you, I know what's the document because I don't read. Film of what? I don't. Nothing. You should read. You know, calling yourself a Resident Evil fan, but you don't read the lore. Do you even call yourself a fan? Or do you just watch recap videos on YouTube? Okay. Ammo? But I have Shen to watch and she reads everything. Yeah, cause I need to understand. Not gonna lie, even though I read it, I don't understand. Actually, you're not wrong. See, so simple. See, so simple.
Oh, I'm sure she's fine. She's not the type to roll over that easy.
Sounds like you know her well.
Drop down. Face palm. Face palm indeed. I feel like there's something here. There is something here, right? Has to be. How does Ashley know that someone helped them? You're right. Ashley. Oh fuck. Ashley never met her before. Oh, I knifed it. I'm about to die. Verge. Okay. Yeah, I should have ate the fish. Ashley just pretended to be asleep. I know, right? Not gonna lie, I would too. If it means Leon gets to carry me. You know, tall, blonde, and hot. Not gonna lie, I've been starting to realize all my taste in men, they're always tall, blonde, and hot. You know what I mean? I mean, there's Leon, there's, you know, the Eric brothers from... Fuck! They camouflage so good! Who else is tall, blonde, and hot? Sam from... What is it? From Stardew Valley. Thank you for the raid, Kurai! Welcome in! Welcome in, Kurai! Welcome, welcome! Welcome in, Raiders! Welcome in! How was your stream? What did you play? How was your day? I'm hot and I'm cool. I'm cold. When you're hot and you're cold, yes and you're no. No, don't say it. That's bad life shit. Hey, great minds think alike, alright? Two sperm in a nutsack. Twas good. We were playing Scarlet Nexus. Ooh, ooh. What is Scarlet Nexus? Sounds fun. Sounds fun. Oh my god, that's amazing. Maybe I should check it out. Yep. Sounds like a Pokemon. You know, good idea, Itoshi, because there's Pokemon Scarlet and Violet that just came out not that long ago, actually. So very, very close. It is a Pokemon game. Yup. Yeah, let me give you a shout out, Kurai. Oh. Here you go. Everybody go check him out. He's a super pog. He's amazing. He's a little old, but super pog. It's a JRPG that is like brain punk themed. Oh. Ooh. Brain punk themed. That's the first I've heard of that. I'ma definitely check it out. Definitely. I have a lot of fun with it. TQ? What is TQ? For the shout out? Oh, thank you! Oh! Thank you for the shout out! And hey, we don't talk about that. Okay, okay. We don't talk about it. Alright. I'm glad you had fun. I'm almost at the end of finishing RE4 right now, actually. I think this is the last chapter.
Why not treat this?
Okay.
Welcome. Got a selection of good things on sale, stranger.
Good things on
Molding a
sale.
weapon to suit your specific needs.
Oof.
It's a thing of beauty. That's
Do
about
this.
all I can do for this
Do
weapon.
this.
Although,
Exclusive.
never mind.
Wait, I have 30? I could buy this.
Oh,
Might as
so
well, right?
which weapon will you be giving a shine to? Give us a shout.
Should I do the right gun? Or I'm gonna do the
You
TMP.
have a ticket, do ya?
I do have a ticket.
That
I just
is
bought it.
a top-notch weapon. You really
Okay,
don't
now I have
settle for
50.
anything less than the best, do ya? Give that the care it deserves, mate.
First aid
Better
spray.
to be over-prepared. Am I right? I'll hand this over when you've got the space. Wield it. Might
Okay.
want to take care of any leftover errands before going this way. Be ashamed to live the rest
Okay.
of your life wondering.
This is one of my favorite RE games. Have you played it before? No, this is my first run ever. First run ever. Yeah, I'm actually pretty cracked at it, which is amazing. Me and my Red 9 don't disappoint. Alright.
Welcome.
Can I buy more?
Stocking up while you can. Let us know when you've made some room.
Okay.
Got us come back.
Can I craft anything? No? Alright. It should be good, right? Can I sell anything? Might as well sell everything, right? Cause this is the last boss battle or something, right?
Welcome.
Am I tripping?
I'll buy almost anything.
6. Shen luck goes through the roof in this game. It does actually. Hey, how you liking it so far? I love it. Like actually, like it's probably my favorite one. 2 was really good. For me, it's probably 2. I really like 2. This is probably the second one on my list. It goes 2, 4, 3, and then 1. 1 at the end because F that game. Nobody likes 1.
Thank you.
Alright.
Dazzled, are you?
Everything.
Our craftsmanship
Oh, wait.
demands no less. Well,
So,
we've
do
given
this.
this one all we have to give. Try that on for size.
Got it, got it.
Will that be all then?
Yes, that will be
Don't get
all.
yourself killed now.
Customized case. 50% shotgun shell, craft bonus frequency. I like the best one. Best. 50% health recovery for green herbs. Oh, do this. You saved my game. 49. Let's go. Point 1. Have you purposely killed Ashley yet? Not purposely, but accidentally shot her in the head. Yup. Yup. Kind of funny though. Okay, kind of funny. Was totally an accident.
Got a selection of good things on sales. Thank you.
Thank you. Durability. Look at this one.
Dazzled, are you? Our cross pleasant.
Alright. I'm ready, I'm ready! I'm ready for battle. No, I'm gonna save again, just in case.
Hello, stranger.
Save. Oh, which one did I save? This one? Alright. So how did you accidentally shoot someone in the head? Because she was like getting taken and like she fell down and I was shooting the guy who dropped her and then she decided to stand up and I shot her instead of the guy. Accidentally, okay? Accidentally. Ada? Hey yo? Right in front of me? Yeah, that's tempting. Ada, come on. You didn't have to do all that. Wait, is that the only thing I have to look at? Is there anything else? Oh, red herb. Tower. Nothing, nothing. Okay. Got it, got it. I'm ready, I'm ready. Get in here.
Stay here.
No, come with me. Ashley, come on. Oh my god, me and Ada alone time?
Ada!
Oh, that hurts my... that hurts my shins. Is it just me? I feel like it hurts. Oh my god. Ashley will be watching. She's not even gonna help me. Boo! F you, Ashley. Oh my god! Ada? I love a woman who dressed to impress. You know? Spider Ada! Red Knight, let's go! Red Knight, let's go! I love women wearing a red dress. Yep, you can never go wrong with red, you know? I mean, technically her dress is more like a burgundy instead of a instead of a red. You know, it has like a purplish, you know, hue to it. Shoot the eyes! Shoot the eyes! Damn, I only know 8 colors. Damn, I don't get too fancy with colors. But you know, you're talking to a freaking earth to the hair. Oh shit! Run, 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 run. Damn, I don't have a yellow egg. Oh shit! Oh shit! How do I dodge this? Ay. Run, Leon, run! What is this, ammo? Oof. He's giving me the whole tour. No way. No way. Can I climb up? Oh, I can't dodge Okay. Fuck. Shit in my room. Shit. You know what? Do this. I can't fix. Oh, I can't fix it. Okay. No. I hear the voices. I also hear the voices. Are we the same? Okay. Uh-oh. He's calling his children. Get out of the way! Get out of the way! Okay. Oh my god, you weird. Where's his eyes at? Fuck. Fuck. Jesus Christ. Stop laughing! Oh my god. I'm stuck. Let me share your knees! I clicked E! Oh my god. I'm dead. No, no, no. His eyes. Oh my god. Fuck. I'm trapped here. Oh, did I press this? What? Okay. Don't come here, don't come here. She's not doing the knife thingy, Sally. I will do the knife thingy. Oh fuck. It's just, you know, in a spurt of moment. Your fucking red knife is too good. It's supposed to be good. Oh, red herb, red herb. Let me grab that real quick. Oh. Please don't spare me. Please don't spare me. Okay. Okay. I hate this little space. No! It's gonna shoot that! Stop reloading! Oh my god. Please don't come in. Please don't come in. Oh my god. How do I avoid that? Oh. Is he dead? Phase 2? Phase 3? What is this? TP, I have more than 100 ammos, you don't love me? I mean... I mean, if I still have red 9 bullet, I might as well keep this in the red 9, you know?
Getting sick of your shit.
How come you have way too much health? Hey, health is important, okay? You know, I gotta be tanked, okay? That's how you win. Okay, phase 2. Where do I shoot? The embryo? Is that what it is? Embryo?
Finally, look at suits you, Sadler. A monster in and out. Still, I need to
Oh, fuck.
It's you.
Not me, it's you. I've used that line before, guys. Oh shit. Fuck. Okay. Is there any other? Is it? Oh my god! Please don't hit me! Oh my god. How do I avoid that? How do... Oh! That's easy shit. Well, maybe for you.
I'll give you a holy body.
Ooh, right in the eye. Cause I kill you. Get it, guys? Cause how's everyone? Everyone is doing great, I think. Everyone as in me. My name is everyone. I'm doing good. No explanation. I don't get the joke. Never mind. You're late to the party. I won't explain it again.
Nothing personal, Leon. Luis and I had an arrangement.
Ooh.
Don't worry, I'll take good care of it. Ride's here. You coming?
Hey yo!
I think we both know this. This is where we go our separate ways.
No, go sir. Leave Ashley behind.
I see.
Leon, come on, get some. You didn't explain at all. I got my eye on you. Oh, I got my eyes on you and everything.
Cute.
I don't know the lyrics. You see, I got your heart lovely motion
Leon.
endlessly. Is that how it goes? I don't even know.
Where's she going?
Who knows?
I don't understand. Why would she just...
Ooh, she said the thing, huh?
It's gonna
Separate
what?
ways. Oh my god. Escape the island. The island? What do I have? The Viper? Okay. My son is this. I got no more red knight ammo!
Okay, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Green herb? Save game. 50? Oh, wait, no, that's where we came from. Okay. Am I missing anything? No? Okay, let's go. Did you just say Island? Yeah, I've been saying Island for like the past this entire stream. Island. Yeah. Kind of funny, right? Come on! just go?
They're nothing now their master's gone. It's over for them.
Oh. Help me? Ashley. Okay, let's go. Wait, so they're not gonna attack me, right? No?
All right. Not bad, Ada.
This is so cute.
You like thrill rides?
I love thrills. They're dead. That's fair. I'm not EP yet, but need to be. Ooh. I'm driving. My driving skills. Fuck. Ignore that. I don't know why I hit that. Oh my god. Wait, I want to see Itoshi drive this. Itoshi? How well did you drive this? I've been feeling you like crash into a lot of stuff. Did you? Okay, ignore that. Oh shit, fuck. I nailed that. That's what he said. That's what he said. Haha. No? I dare you, motherfucker. Alright. Oh. Alright. Cool, cool. Cool, cool. I've always wanted to go jet skiing. Or like paragliding. Or like fuck. Or like anything in the water. Even though I can't swim, but it's okay. I'll nail you. Nail you with a nail gun. Nail fun.
You alright?
I'm not sure, that was insane.
Oof, oof.
Mission accomplished, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Mission accomplished. And you're home safe.
Thank you for saving me.
How romantic.
Don't mention it.
Now, don't
I
kiss.
can put in word with my dad. Have you assigned to my detail, if you're interested?
Shut the F up. Actually.
You proved you
Not
can
sure
handle yourself.
again. That's so mean. That's so mean. You'll see, you're so mean.
Let's go home.
Ooh-wee. Oh my god.
Condor 1? Bruce to Condor 1, do you read me? Come in. I said come in. Is this thing even on?
I don't want to hear that from you.
Leon, are you and Ashley all right?
Well, look at her.
Where
You want to leave her to die? It's okay. She survived that long. She should be fine. You know? Hunnigan is still contacting Leon. Hunnigan is the girl on the radio, right? Wow. Wow. Great game. Great game. I loved it. Yeah, look at you. Yeah. I think my favorite part was the castle. I loved it. I love the castle. It was probably like the hardest part too. But I love the castle. Look at the family you murdered. Oh my god. So proud of you, Poggers! Exclamation mark Pog, guys! Exclamation mark Pog! You see them shit? They were just farmers. You family killer. Family killer? I hardly even know her. Oh my god. How long is the credits though? Is there secret like secret scene at the end? Should I wait? There is? Okay. I love it. I love it when I love when a game has like secret endings or like secret, you know, ending scene. It's quite long. Wait for it. Okay. Wasn't that long? Not as long as like freaking Until Dawn. Until Dawn and Heavy Rain. That the credit scene is like it's like 5 minutes long.
Patch me through.
Ada?
I've obtained the amber.
Excellent.
Just one question. What are you planning to do with this?
I do not pay you to ask questions. All you need to know is a new dawn is breaking. 100 will give their lives so that just one may live. I
Who's that?
am expediting that change.
Is that what Wesker?
We're talking
He looks so different.
Billions.
Is it bad? I liked it when he looked.
How ambitious.
I liked it better when he was in RE1. He's older, that's why. Ah. Oh. Did you know they're coming out with the Until Dawn remake in October? Oh yeah, so yeah. I don't know if I want to play it. I played Until Dawn like so many times. And I got all the endings. Like a couple years ago when it first came out. And I was like in high school. I don't know if I want to play it again. My god. Is that like the ending thing supposed to be like a teaser for the DLC? I'm looking forward to it. I was only sipping for Sam. I saved Sam only. Yeah, Sam was like the MVP actually. I love Sam. Sam is amazing. Have you played the Quarry? I actually like the Quarry. But I felt like the Quarry was more like slow paced than Until Dawn. And like Until Dawn had like more action packed than the Quarry. Yeah. The Quarry haven't played it? Sure, it's fun. Yeah. Man of Maiden, did you play? No, I did not. I did not. Yeah, I played the chorus as well. It was a bit slower and not nearly as scary. Yeah, it was not. Wasn't that scary though, but it was good cinematic, you know, scenes. Give it a try. Ooh, I will. I'll probably look at it like after stream. Yo, I'm also like a really big fan of like Heavy Rain. Loved it. Played it so many times. Jason and like Beyond Two Souls and like what's the other game? The one with the robot. Connor. Yo, Detroit, yeah, Detroit. I love Detroit. Connor. Beyond Two Souls. Beyond Two Souls is so good. I feel like it doesn't get enough love. Yeah. because Detroit was like popping off at the same time. I saved everyone. You saved everyone. Oh my god! I think I like Beyond Two Soul. I have so much hatred towards everyone in that game. Shawty, I love the main character. Me too. I loved her so much. But I low-key kind of hated her because she was like, I don't know. I felt like her character was a little selfish, or probably how I played her. But I loved it though. It was fun. I would play it again if I could. I also really loved what is it? Life is Strange. The first one was really good. Second Life is Strange was eh. Never finished it though. And then yeah. Yeah, probably how I played her. Yep. Walking Dead? I have not played The Walking Dead. Nope. I do want to play on stream though. Like The Walking Dead, The Last of Us. Like I already kind of know like the whole gameplay in the story. Okay, I used to watch my brother play it all the time in the living room. Yep. We'll see, we'll see. But I do want to play it myself on stream. We'll see, we'll see. Yup. Anyways, guys, we finished RE4! Woo! What should I play now? I was thinking of playing Village. You know? Village or like Bioshock. Yeah. Oh, before I sleep? That's right! That's right, I lost the race! It is a... She didn't die now, it's the race. Okay. You know what? Let me look at it again. The oh no! Senpai! Is there a video that I could copy? Like an example? Yeah, let me see if I can find one. Oh shit, can you read that copy pasta I sent you to like months ago? If you could find it, sure. I might as well, right? Okay. How do I even say this? There's no video example that I could like copy off of. Are y'all gonna play Little Nightmares 3 when it comes out? You know, I still haven't played Little Nightmares 1 or 2. But maybe, I don't know. I really want to play it though. But we'll see. We'll see. We will see. Just chat GPT. Okay, where's my sticky note? I got it. Toshi, I'm gonna say it. Okay, I'm gonna say it. Hold on, what's this? What? god!
Good work.
I got a B! Total playtime 18 hours. 56 saves. Game mode standard. Pretty good. I say it's pretty good, right? Yeah. Woo! Yeah, I say it's pretty good. You know, well done, right? Well done, Shen. Well done. Alright. I am proud. Well done. You did really great. I know I did. Come on, you gotta praise me, guys. I'm a proud stepbro here. Alright. Where's my waddle? Okay. Ready? Ready? Where's my... Okay. Ready? Ready? Okay. Let's see how well I could do this in one try. Okay. Is my head too high? Here. Are you guys ready? Alright. Congratulations to Hitoshi. He won the freaking race. He decided to stream super early, constantly, before me, just to finish it on the day I stream. Alright. Congrats. Okay. Are you ready? Making me nervous. Oh my god. I have an ego to project. Thank you. Okay. Hold on, let me take a sip. Okay. Cringe alert. Okay. Trigger warning. Okay, guys. Cringe. Okay. So the punishment was to read a copy pasta, and this is the copy pasta that Itoshi gave me. Okay. So cringe alert. Okay. Beware. Cover your ears. Leave while you can. Okay. Trigger warning. A cringe goat. Okay. I'm nervous. Okay. Okay. Oh no! Senpai noticed me and my kokoro went doki. Senpai, why so precious? You're like a shiny star in my dark universe of this kawaii sparkles. Yeah. I can't stop thinking about your sugoi eyes. They make my heart go yeah. When you smile, it's like this sakura petals fall just for you. Like one and only, but fuck! I'm blushing. Will you please pat my head and tell me I'm your kawaii little goat? Oh, I'll be the perfect little bed just for you. Where my cutest goat horns and swishing my fluffy tail all day long. Senpai, you make me feel all fuzzy wuzzy inside. I just want to snuggle you up and nuzzles. Don't leave me, senpai, or my kokoro will go kyung. I'm breaking to a million tiny pieces like a kawaii puzzle with one piece missing. And that piece is you! Senpai, you're my one and true husbando. And I just want to hold your hand and go to a magical desu adventures together forever and never. Yeah. Wink. Happy. Jesus Christ. did it. Oh my god, hi Chi-Bean. Jesus Christ. Copy pasta. Blessing. Cringe. Ha 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 ha. That made me blush like a little. What the heck? You Dijon. You Dijon. I'm so happy right now. It's so worth it. I don't know how to. Jesus Christ, guys. Yes. Jeez. 69 out of 10. Now for bonus cringe, read the one I sent you in DMs. I might as well, right? Jesus. Okay. Yoshi Boshi. Oh my god, what is this? Okay. let me put this in my sticky note of cringe copy pastas. Alright. This is the one Yoshi gave to me. Yeah, right, I'm DJ shit. Is that because Hey yo! Hey yo! Hey yo! Comb your pants, you know, unpitch your tent. Okay, yeah, this is the copy pasta Yoshi gave me. Alright guys. Cringe alert, cringe alert. What you looking at, kitty? Wanna rub my feet? How cute. They're so stinky, but I guess I wouldn't mind if you like them too. I'm gonna have so much fun with you. What are you waiting for? Better show me a good time or I'm gonna step on ya. That's right. I'll grind your face on the pavement. That's a good boy. Yummy. Of course it's about feet. Oh, Jesus, Yoshi. Oh my god. Alright, happy guys! Are you guys happy? Jesus. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're welcome. You are welcome. Oh my god. You guys are insane. Like, I'm scared. You guys are insane. Oh my god. I don't know. Are you embraced from the cringe yet? Oh, I don't know. I'm kind of new to it. It's like you know, like once you get it out of your system.
I'm so happy that I could die.
What the heck? It's so see. Thank you for that 200 bits. What the heck? Why are you so happy for? What the heck? I don't want to look at it. I'm not gonna look at it. Damn, I'm gonna forget this ever happened, and then it's gonna show up in my clips. Roulette player, and I'm gonna die. And oh my goodness. Jesus, guys. Jesus, you guys are. I swear, men. All right. You know, this is a good spot to end, right? Or no? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Should I look for someone to raid? Who's even like online? Oh my god! Oh, Kenny's still streaming? Okay, we're gonna raid Kenny. Alright. Oh, so can wait, I wanna raid chaos. Hold on, wait. Let's raid chaos. How do I cancel raid? Cancel? Hey. I won't tell this to Kenny. Please don't. Alright. Okay, we are gonna raid Mr. Dark Chaos! Alright, thank you everyone for coming by. Thank you. Not even raid command, no. I do it manually. Has anyone ever told you? What? Has anyone ever told you that you're laughing contagious yet? Yeah, a lot. Yeah. Anyway, thank you everyone for coming by. Thank you for joining me on this fucking RE4 journey. I'm gonna play the DLC on Saturday for sure. Separate ways with Miss Ada Wong. Alright. Thank you all for coming by. Thank you for all the follows. Thank you for the raise. Thank you. Thank you for coming by. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for all the bits. Thank you for streaming. No, thank you. Make sure you guys lock your doors, lock your windows, lock your closet, cause I'm gonna lurk. Okay, guys, for reals, no joking. I know where you live. Ha ha ha.